It has been absolute madness here on our small holding. We've had a nice week of weather, so obviously that means just crack on and get as much done as we possibly can. So this evening, while the weather's still nice, I've decided to down tools, grab my camera and go for a walk around the land with you and show you what's going on. So quickly starting up here by the stables. This is full of strawberry plants, and these are doing better than any of the ones I've got in the ground. They just look so happy in here. I'm not sure why they're doing so much better, but they are, so hey-ho, we'll see. There are a lot of half-done jobs lying around, and it's a bit messy, but if I wait until there's no half-done jobs and it's not messy, then it will never happen. So hey-ho, let's just get out here. Where should we start? Yeah, so this bed here is where I've been planting my brassicas. Now, I said this week has been lovely, but up until this point it's been so wet that it's just been slugs everywhere, and I kind of abandoned the brassicas. I've started some more from the seed, so as soon as they're big enough to come out, I will replace these and forget that this bit ever happened. The only, I mean, you know, this is what we're looking like. This is the sole survivor, but even he's not doing great, bless him. So, you know, we'll circle back to that. The garlic is doing all right, starting to really thicken up under there now. The only bit of concern, I think, is this end. So if you watched when I planted the garlic, I did 4 different varieties. 2 seed garlic varieties from the garlic farm on the Isle of Wight. 1 that was my own saved from last year. Last year I grew seed garlic, but no variety given, just generic seed garlic from Wilko, and I saved some seeds, so I did a section of that. And then this section at the far end was from the supermarket, and as you can see, these, oh, I don't know if you can see, these all look nice and similar, you know, fairly robust garlic plants. And then these at the end, this is the supermarket, we've got all of these individual sprouts coming out. So I'll have to do a bit of reading on what this means, but I assume what's happened is that the individual cloves have sprouted in there, and that's what all these skinny, spindly bits coming out are, which does not sound like a good thing. Obviously they've been treated exactly the same as all the other garlic that went in here, so maybe that's our answer on whether or not seed garlic is worth it. But anyway, this side of this bed, we've got, these are my onions that went in back in autumn last year, and they've overwintered in this bed. As you can hopefully see, they're starting to bulb up, which is amazing. This is my first time doing overwintered onions. Usually in the past all I've done is sort of sowed the same year, whereas these went in the autumn and they've been out here all winter, and yeah, if that works then great. That's a great use of my beds over the winter, so fab. Now I don't know if you can see behind those, in here I've put a couple of cosmos just to add a bit of something to my garden beds. Coming down here, I've popped this little basil in. The rest of my basil are in the Polytunnel, but I thought I would see how they did outside. Something's had a nibble. And then this is the coriander. And then that patch that looks nice and freshly tilled has some more carrot seeds in it, because I am determined to grow carrots this year. Absolutely determined. Now further down in this row I have popped in some multi-sown beetroot, so you can hopefully see here, and then behind it this is some perpetual spinach. So we've got a row of beetroot and a row of perpetual spinach. They were not direct sown, they were sown in module trays and then transplanted quite early, just because I don't have a lot of luck with direct sowing. I would absolutely direct sow if it worked for me, but alas it doesn't. You can see that I've got grass clippings in here as mulch. I have been asked in the past why don't I just get rid of the grass out here. Slightly complicated. Well, it's not really, it's just a choice. Up there where the sun is going down is our house and our garden, and we like to sit up there and look over all of this. So, you know, I kind of like that it's garden space, and I don't mind mowing, and I get the mulch from the grass clippings. Note on that, it has to be very shallow, just a spreading over the top. I use it quite thickly on the edges of the beds. I don't know if you can see, I can show you somewhere. Like for example, here, I'm trying to stop the grass coming in from the outside, so it's quite dense. Whereas over there where the plants are actually planted, it's really shallow, just to try and trap the moisture, whereas when I'm putting it thickly, I'm trying to stop any weeds from growing in. So I'm using it both ways. In this nice little bed, right, we've got our winter spinach here, which is going to seed now. Some of them still look okay, so I'm going to harvest as much as possible. As I said, I've got the perpetual spinach in the other bed now, so this has done us well for the colder months, but we'll crack on with the perpetual spinach and lettuces and things that take over. We've got some lettuces growing down here. I put the dill in here the other day. We've got some very tiny peas gone in here. These are my lettuces starting to head up, which is lovely. And then some peas in here. Oh, look, a flower. Oh, it's the first pea flower. Need to add some more structure to my pea support, but it's nice to see peas coming along. The peas always look super rough when they first go in because the slugs just have at them, and I try and put them out early, but most of the time they do survive, even though they take a hit from the slugs and whatever else. Those ones looked just gnarly, but a couple of weeks of rain and sun and they've caught back up, so it's all good. Right, what's going on in here? So this is the end of my leeks. So these have also been in all season last year, all over winter, and as you can see, they are going to seed now. So it looks like a garlic scape if you've grown hardneck garlic. This is the flower of my leeks, so I need to get on and use those. I can still use them, but they will have that tough centre bit now, so this week for sure. I've got another row of beetroot in here, and then these are some spring onions that are about ready to start coming in. This is still last year's celery, refuses to die, just letting it do its thing until I need the bed space. I've got more leeks over here, more onions, that tiny little onions, which were my spring sown ones. Yeah, they're not doing anywhere near as well as my overwintered ones, so hopefully the overwinter ones come too, and it's not too much of a disaster for my spring sown ones. This is my dame's rocket. If you were with me last year, I had this square section around this willow tree in the middle, and I had these little triangular beds like this one and this one. I'm abandoning those for this year because it was just too much to keep on top of. The problem was that I couldn't get the mower around them, which meant I would have had to do the grass management by hand, and I just didn't, not enough anyway. So I'm abandoning those, but I'm not mowing it over. I'm just leaving things like this dame's rocket. This is biennial, so it didn't flower last year, but it's flowering this year and it looks amazing. And then I've just got a load of parsley and things that have gone to seed. There was a borage that went to seed in there, so I've just left that, and I'm just going to leave these as little areas of wild. Another one here. There's what's still in here from where my peas were growing last year. All these tiny flowers in here. That's all corn salad that grew. So I started it about, March last year, and it went straight to seed. And then in the summer, those seeds germinated and we got a lovely overwinter supply of corn salad. So that was lovely. Now, in here, behind the forest of celery, I have got my tomatoes. Now, I've only got 2 tomato plants outside, and I'm doing it as a control because I have this variety which claims to be blight resistant. We will put that to the test. So I also have a few more of these in the polytunnel, so it will just be good to see the comparison between the two. They don't look too happy with me. I don't know whether it's just because it's been so dry. I did water them in, but I haven't watered them since, so potentially that. And then in front of them, let me show you. And then in front of that here, these are some radish that I've transplanted, and they seem to be doing okay. Now I've got these 2 beds behind me which have nothing in them as yet. That is next week's job. Right, that's a good summary of the outside beds. So let's go and have a look in the polytunnel, because that's where all the work has been going on. This has been a bit abandoned while we've been getting on with the polytunnel. Under the tarp is my sweet corn bed. At the end of last year I chopped it all down, I left it all lying there, I added a load of random whatever organic matter I had lying around at the time, and I threw the tarp back on, and I've not looked at it since. So next couple of weeks we'll be pulling that back and seeing what is going on. But let me show you the tunnel. I think the last time you saw it I hadn't put this black weed fabric around the perimeter. I need to do something to stop the weeds coming in, so I'm not sure what I'm going to cover this with yet. Whatever I can get my hands on for cheap, I think. Either some bark or some gravel or just some pots. I haven't decided yet. Let's go in and have a look. Okay, so this is the current state of the polytunnel. As you can see this side, I've still just got bare plastic here and empty beds here. We're working on that. But both of these beds are now planted with things, which is great. There's still lots of bits lying around in here. It's still a work in progress, but just to show you what's going on. So here we've got, now for the record, I don't remember off the top of my head what everything is in here in terms of varieties. So, but I have made a note, so I'll put that down here as I'm running through it. So I've got a little diamond of tomatillos down here. They seem to be coming on great, and I think one of them wants to flower, which is fabulous. There's a spare one in this pot. I didn't have space for it, and I've never grown tomatillos before, so I don't even know if I like them. I mean, I've had them in things, but I've never grown my own, so I think 4 will do it fine. So these here are some Armenian yard-long cucumbers, never grown them before. This tunnel, oh look, it's like 8 o'clock in the evening. Oh, did that go before you saw it? It said 23.4. It's on the blink. Yeah, 8 o'clock in the evening in North Wales in May, and that's quite fabulous. This door's been open all day because it's been wicked hot in here, so I'll close it up behind me when I leave this evening. So in the middle of this little bamboo cane situation are some San Marzano tomatoes, and then on this side of it are some crystal lemon cucumbers, which I have grown before and I do love. Now I've got 3 sets of 2 tomatoes in here, not sure what they are, I'll write it here. And then down this whole length we've got a selection of different tomatoes and peppers, mostly hot peppers, a couple of California Wonder sweet peppers, but I've got some more to go in, so that's what's going to fill up the rest of the space. Down this end, I'm not sure if I've shown you these yet, but these are my grapevines. They have been completely forgotten and abandoned. Last year I got a couple. I don't know what they are. I do have a record of it. Again, I'll put that here if I find it. I had the great idea of buying grapevines, but I live in a really windy, exposed place and I didn't really know where to put them, so they spent the whole summer in my pop-up greenhouse. This one that blew away and died. The staging is very helpful, but it is no longer a greenhouse. They spent most of the summer in there until it blew away. And then I just forgot about them over winter. I've done absolutely nothing with them. I've not touched them, I've not pruned them, I've not fed them. They've just stayed in those pots. So I've brought them in here, and my plan is to plant them down in this corner, and hopefully we'll have a trailing situation. I've not worked out how I'm going to do that yet, but that is also on the list for the next week or so to get done. In my little staging area, if you were with me for the... Let's go in. Whew. If you were with me for the madness of getting this polytunnel together, you saw that I didn't bring the pen out. I did order the Artline garden marker. Thank you to my lovely commenter who recommended that. I need to come out and redo all of these tags because they're already fading. But these are the sweet corn that we sowed together, and they are all up, bar 2 now, which is amazing. We also sowed some beans, and they're just poking up as well, so that's just fab. I've got some more Genovese basil out here, 3 pots of those, and we've also got some Thai basil in here, so lots of basil on the way. In here, these are leeks that now need to be planted out, again on the list for this week. and some shallots as well, so happy to get those out. And 2 more trays of sweet corn seeds. I like sweet corn. With these down here, we've got courgette and some squash, more peppers, and various bits and bobs. Oh, these are some gherkin cucumbers that desperately need a drink. And this, is there a name for this? Someone will tell me. When a tomato seed germinates but it's like got no growth point, there must be a name for it. I don't know what it is. I'll have to find out. And then down here on the floor we've got petunias that I need to find a home for, a couple of different varieties, and then these ones on the end are a trailing variety. Another basil that hasn't found a home yet, and some more peppers that I think it might just be a bit too late for. I'm so happy with this, honestly. In the trays down there, some peas that haven't yet made it out, some borage, some nasturtiums, still got some cosmos, and this tray down here, it's all a work in progress. But I'm shutting up shop for the day in here. No more jobs will be done. And now let me show you the little gooselings. Hey geese! But I showed you their bath, which Nigel has upgraded now. So you see this board here, this is temporary, while he's put a float filler thing in there so that it automatically keeps a level, but they have eaten it already and keep pulling the top off the float that, you know, once it floats up it stops the flow of water. Yeah, they keep taking the top off of that, so that's why it's got this cover on it now, so they can't do that, so that we can just leave the water on here and this bath refills itself. We're going to fashion a much smaller float so they get the majority of their bath back, but for now it's still pretty good. They have been in, they do like the water. Feels great to have outside geese. But the next part that Nigel has done, because he's a wonderful human, is I've got water down here, so no more dragging the ridiculously long hose all the way down here, because I was doing that but it only gets about halfway down the tunnel and then it's watering cans back and forwards. So my plan is to hook up that new irrigation point, and then we will put soaker hoses in through this polytunnel. Oh, they seem to have bounced back. These 2 poor little babies were in the polytunnel all day, where it got to be over 30 degrees, and they're in these stupidly tiny pots. These ones in these stupidly tiny pots, and they've gone a bit droopy, but they're having a nice drink, and hopefully they'll make it back. You go, my little puppy. Good boy. This tarp here is what was on the ground in the polytunnel. I'm going to move that probably into the food forest and start tarping out a new area for me to plant, hopefully over the winter, if not this time next year in the spring. What's going on in here? Oh, there's a load of jobs for me to do in there. So in there we've got asparagus from seed that's all come up. Ooh, sun! Which absolutely needs a new home, so that is high up on my list as well of things to get to. There's also sunflowers in there which have germinated, so I'll be finding them a home as well soon. Now, this bed, these are all willow cuttings, and the function of those is to provide a windbreak for this bed behind me, which obviously it hasn't had this year, so it's a little bit feeling sorry for itself. We do get a lot of wind, and this is the highest point. If I turn around you can see the polytunnel back there and how much further down that is. So this bit does catch a lot of the wind, which is why the rhubarb looks like a splat. And there are other herbs in this bed, and I would say they're not doing great, but I knew that going in, that this wasn't going to be ready, so I'm just hoping that with a nice summer they do okay and this bit springs back, and I'll actually be able to plant in here once there's a windbreak. I did start this mint from seed, and so I've brought that out as well. I'm quite excited for it. I am keeping it in a pot. I have watched other YouTube videos and I've heard the warnings. I've never grown mint. I've grown lemon balm, and I do know that takes over. I had it in like a raised bed, and yeah, I took the whole thing. The raspberries need a good weeding, but I'm working on it. The trees have all been blossoming. And yeah, I'm hopeful that that's all just going okay. The food forest has not had a whole load of my attention since the Polytunnel build and getting it planted and things, so it's all been a little bit abandoned to its own devices. But the fig, please ignore all the weeds, the fig tree is opening up, and look at this, bloody love an iris. So these are the strawberries that came out. I don't know if you can, if it's obvious, but the leaves are so much smaller than on those ones in the pots. I'm not really sure why. The licorice root I planted has not come up, and the strawberries in this bed look even worse. They're all in the same compost. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is, but don't really have the time to worry about it. We just hope that they're just taking, maybe the ones in the ground are just taking a little bit longer to get themselves established. We're going to leave them, I'll look after them. So I have a very quick wander around the food forest. I've not done any weeding or anything out here for a couple of weeks, so it's a bit wild, but food forest. So in here we've got our gooseberry plants, our gooseberry bushes. They are trying to live. Everything in here looks like it's struggling a little bit, if I'm honest. The osteospermum's still trying to put a show on for us. Yes, there's 4 gooseberry bushes in there. They're all trying to live. Oh, in here, these are my Welsh onions, and they are constantly buzzing with bees. So I started moving these because my ultimate plan is for this to not have anything that can be chicken destroyed out in this field. I'm going to fence off an area in the middle of the field where I can grow perennial bits and bobs, and I'm just moving these to where I want them, both in that section there and into the bit that will be fenced by the time the girls come out into this whole field. There's more to see in here, but I'm keeping it brief today because this video is going to be infinitely long. This is my white currant. You can see its teensy tiny flowers in here. I don't know if you can see, but I'm hopeful for a nice amount of white currants this year. And this is a gooseberry that's been in for the extra year. I don't want to touch this too much because it's going to stab me, but you can see the difference between the first year gooseberry plants and this second year one. It's quite significant, which is grand. You can see the chickens back there. They've got about a quarter of this field fenced off for them, so they're not going without space. It's just in an ideal future I'll have properly free ranging chickens and I won't have to feed them quite so much, because I'll have this whole field, potentially the one with the geese in it as well, and they can all share depending on how it goes. We've still got blossoming fruit trees out here. This is an apple. Oh, don't touch it, Sam. It smells pretty fabulous. Otherwise everything is just carrying on out here, which is good. The shape of this elderberry may concern you, but it's putting on flowers. Look at these. The red currant's carrying on around here. So this section here, I don't know if it's obvious on camera, but it's kind of like a circular area. This is the bit that I'm hopefully going to fence off and have it as a sort of perennial garden out here, so that the chickens can then go all the way around the outside, and they'll just leave this little circle bit in the middle. This is a cherry. I haven't planted much else out here since the last time we were in here, but just for the sake of sharing everything with you. The herb spiral has mixed success so far, I would say. Nothing looks awful out here. There's been no fatalities, it's just some things are taken off better than others. The sage, for example, looks bloody amazing. Look at this. I've taken some leaves off it already and it's just still looking fabulous. The thyme, struggling a little bit. The rosemary's coming on okay. The oregano is of course fine and thriving. The marjoram even looks good. I think it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year. Whew, I fear that this has dragged on a bit, but I have loved just taking 20 minutes or so to just walk around and chat through what's going on, because as I say, it's been absolute madness with heavy work, if you know what I mean. You know, all the making the new no-dig beds, shoveling all the soil and the compost and the bark, let alone, actually putting the polytunnel up, which feels like it was forever ago, but it actually wasn't that long ago, was it? There we go. There's an update on what is going on around here. Thank you so much. It's nice to just take stock and actually look at the things that need doing, because you don't notice when you're really busy, like the things that come up that you've got to crack on with. So this has been helpful for me as well, even if I haven't actually done anything productive in the last half an hour. I've got a good to-do list starting tomorrow. So I guess now you know what's coming for the next couple of weeks. Living the dream. Catch up soon. Cheers.